Beautiful. Hopefully that worked. All right. So, experience is worth giving, legacy is worth leaving. I want to shout out one person in particular. Actually, two people. Uh, Friday night, I want to shout out to Shawnee, who celebrated 2 years of celebrating FTC. Um, it amazes me that on a Friday night at 5:30, 6 o'clock, that you can get 40 to 60 people in a room to mastermind, collaborate, and elevate the level of professionalism within our industry. And for doing that for 2 years strong, it's the level of consistency that that group shows up in order to help elevate our communities. Second thing, and this is more near and dear to my heart. God, and you're going to laugh at like why I get so verklempt on this. But during the Olympics, I love talking about the art of competition and the spirit of competition. Okay. And on Saturday, Northern Illinois, if you weren't paying attention. Okay, so here's a little backstory for you. Leah Bird, who's an incredible, awesome agent in the North Shore, has a son who is the team captain for the Northern Illinois Huskies. And for those of you who enjoy college football as much as I do, I way prefer Saturdays over Sundays for a variety of reasons. Leah's son and the Northern Illinois Huskies, along with a handful of other kids from Whitefish Bay, JJ Lippy, who's also a team captain, went out and beat the brakes off of the number 5 team in the country, Notre Dame. And so I wanted to give a shout out to those guys because I know how hard it is to work as a Division I athlete, especially in football, and there's a lot pulling at those guys. And to be able to stay focused in order to deliver in the biggest moment in their life is like unbelievable. So, Leah, congrats. All right, with that, I also owe the group an apology because there was a little thing going on in August, and we spent a ton of time, energy, and resources to make sure that you guys were prepared to handle change. And in that, over the last several weeks, we did not slow down to celebrate those that capped in the month of July. So stick with me here as we have about 10 to 15 people to celebrate who capped in the month of July. First up, Callie Adler in the North Shore office. A great example of someone who made the transition from corporate America into building a really successful real estate business. Another person, both her and her husband, I think this is very appropriate on the eve of September 11th. Both her and her husband are volunteer fighter fighters up in the Thiensville area. And this would be Melissa Bradley. Melissa Bradley, congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, just a fantastic person who always gives an incredible positive aura and energy. He gives you the biggest hugs and the brightest smiles. David Crum, congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, this is, I consider her to be the OG out in the Lake Country office. She used to sit with me at the table, and I'd be like, I was in my early 20s. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And she was side by side with me as we built the Lake Country office day by day. Connie Cummings, congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, someone who was on the 8:30 new normal call, sharing in vulnerabilities that I think helps people grow and learn. Sarah Jo Dietrich, congrats on capping in the month of July. And she is the better half to someone who also gives back a ton of built things with him out at Zacharias Acres, is an incredible dad. Mark Fondo, congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, dad of one, expecting two, Nick Janisek. Congrats on capping in the month of July. Our resident actor amongst the group, if you didn't know it, now you've been exposed. Randy Lee, congrats on capping in the month of July. Out in Lake Country, just goes about her business, does it the right way at the highest morals and integrity and ethics. Tracy Lukic, congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, seasoned vet. Not much more else to say. Has done a lot of work in downtown Milwaukee and selling a lot of the condos. Congrats to Nancy Meeks on capping in the month of July.
Getting lots of text about this. You can fully disconnect the share and then reconnect.
Yeah, of course. One sec. Willis, how are you, bud?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
Great. Willis, do me a favor. Can you see my slides?
I couldn't. Now I can.
Oh, perfect. All right. Thanks. All right. Next up, I think he has about 30 of these shirts because he never changes them. And it allows him to build a really nice business out in Lake Country. Nick Jensen, congrats on capping in the month of July. Few more folks. This person's been in a lot of different environments, has always been willing to give back and challenges us in a really healthy way and providing us really direct feedback. Ashley Meyer, congrats on capping. Next, I would consider to be the pseudo mayor of Milwaukee, Mr. Worldwide himself, Mr. Jonathan Newby. Congrats. Uh, Ironically, this person also sells in Naples, Florida. A little foreshadow as to what's to come. Has built a really nice business out in Lake Country as well as Naples. Congrats to Coco on capping in the month of July. Staying out in Lake Country for the next two. Also, someone who made an incredible transition, doing a really nice job building their business day by day, step by step. Shireen Woods, congrats on capping in the month of July. Two more. The lieutenant herself. Not only does she help you, support you, and remove friction or obstacles within your business, but Steph Connard also runs a really nice sales business. Congrats on capping. And lastly, someone who came right out of college, who quite frankly bucks the trend. When you're in your early 20s and you don't have a sphere of influence of people who have the financial means to buy homes, Morgan Young, congrats on capping in the month of July. So stay tuned for next week. We'll share the August cappers because we were a bit behind with a lot of the compliance updates that have been going on, but we'll make sure to share those. And for those that capped in the month of July, congrats. And we love continuing to support you in making sure that you're productive every day. So I'm going to dive back into something that I'm going to hammer home to this group. Okay. And I'm going to share with you some things that, quite frankly, I think you've heard, but I'm going to make sure to really hammer it home because I know you need to hear things 9 times before it really sets in. And I'm going to go back to the mega camp slides that Gary shared with us, that I shared with this group about 3 weeks ago. Okay. And some of the things that are coming up that we need to be paying attention to as it relates to how we're planning our businesses and setting up ourselves for success in the first quarter of 2025. And if you look at it, we talked about how the recession probability is the highest it's been as history tends to repeat itself. And right now we are at the highest probability of a recession since the 1980s. In that, we also shared with you around home sales on an annualized basis, okay? And I'm going to show you how history repeats itself. During a 5-year stretch from 2002 to 2006, that 5-year stretch, there were 32 million units that were sold. Fast forward, then what happened is the following 2 years successively, 07, the industry was down 23% since its peak and down 37% since its peak the following 2 years. Okay. We're in a very similar time period. The 5 years from 2018 to 2022 was 27 million units. The successive 2 years after its peak was down 18% in 2022, down 30% in 2023. And if you've noticed in 2024, the industry is basically flatlined versus what we did in 2023. So what you're seeing is not much of a dramatic change. It's yet a slow build back to where it is. And my question to the group is, typically history tends to repeat itself. And so if you just look back from the period of 08 to about 2013, we stayed in an industry where across the US, it was suppressed below 5 million annualized units. And so my question is history repeating itself as we look ahead as to how you're building great careers. Okay. Then I want to transition into a conversation around sides per agent. And again, I discussed this, but didn't hammer it home. And what I want you to pay attention to is the historical average since they began tracking this in the 1940s, 1950s, is on average, agents do about 10 units a year. Okay. Well, in the last 2 years, in 2023, sides per agent were down 47% versus the historical average. And in 2024, they're projected to be down 44% versus the historical average of sides per agent. So what I'm basically saying as well is there's more of you running around and the business has gone down. So the transactional units per agent is suppressed significantly. And if your business dropped by 50% tomorrow, would you be able to support the lifestyle that you live today? Real question. Okay. And the key to it is you're trying to survive and advance because you're not in it for a great year. You're in it for to build a great career. Now, the bright side to this is in last year, 2023, 89% of all residential transactions hired a professional in order to serve their needs. It was the highest it's been in 40 plus years. So while yes, there's more of you running around, and yes, the average deal per agent is down roughly, let's just call it math, 50%. Yet we know consumers are telling you there's a demand for your services. Why? 89% of all transactions had utilized a professional within those services. And so I've been challenging the group over the last 3 weeks in talking about the last mile problem and how our industry faces this concept of how we spend a ton of money on marketing and leads. We spend a ton of money on our technology and CRM platforms. We look at AI and predictive analytics to score leads based on who's going to buy or sell or invest relatively soon. And yet where the mistakes that we all land into is we lose sight of the relationships when the consumer has a decision point. And because we don't have a finger of on our pulse of where the consumer is at that time, we can't be proactive in where their needs are. And so in the secret shopper study, and we talking about the last mile problem in terms of having a finger on the pulse, in the secret shopper study that I shared with you, 35% of the leads were never responded to. 47% of requests were never responded by a human. 8 hours and 17 minutes was the average time for a human to respond. And 42% of agents never asked for their contact info. That's like saying 42% of the time, I'm not going to do my job. And 60% of leads never experienced any sort of follow-up whatsoever. And so the challenge our industry faces right now is the last mile opportunity is how do your clients not become orphan clients? Or why is it that 90% of the time your clients say that their experience was above satisfactory, they enjoyed what it is that you offered, and yet when you look at the statistics of who comes back to you for the second or third transaction, those statistics are significantly less than 50% of the time, because we lose sight of the relationship in investing in relationships over time. Okay. And the secret shopper study of people going into open houses or submitting online lead forms or making phone calls almost exasperates those statistics. So winter is coming. And for those of you that have been around a while, you know where this is going. Okay. In September, we are in the phase of fall cleanup. And during fall cleanup, you need to be thinking about your database management, just as you would within your yard in order to get the roses to bloom in the spring. You need to understand leads and you need to understand contacts. And you need to be doing this now. Straight up. If sides per agent are down 50%, you need to be doing this now if you want to set yourself up for 2025. We will soon be entering the period of winter renewal because separation is in the preparation. And I just heard this yesterday in a recruiting appointment with a $15 million producer. I typically take off of February to rebuild my business. And I'm like, hard way make a living in this business. Succeed at the highest level they do through February. People together to create connection to their brand and reputation. And this is very appropriate for us in southeastern Wisconsin. From March through September, through September. Listen, if you miss quarter, you up in the fourth quarter, and the businesses and deals are going to continue to be had March through spring. The problem is October, November, December isn't enough business for what you may missed January, February, and March. So if you take off November and December, you can essentially kiss your 2025 goals goodbye before you even get started. Straight up, no cap. I'm working on my street cred. So here's my challenge for the group. Life is about choices, and agent productivity is the direct reflection of the choices they make. It's why whenever anybody asks me for an agent consultation because they're struggling, you know what? One of the very first questions I will ask you, let me see your last 90 days within your calendar. It will tell me the choices you are making and it will reflect the results that you are having. But let's look and see how that there was a certain subset of agents who decided to make a choice. Let's just look at what those choices were. And just for those of you who've seen this presentation before, I'm not calling anybody out. I will just help you understand where these agents sit. Okay. This is a Southwest agent. In October, November, and December of 2022, they were too busy. Then they had to make your first quarter goals if you miss your first quarter. So what did they do? They invested their time, energy, and resources in the fourth quarter of last year. January through April of this year, they're closed units, and I'm focusing on closed units in this presentation specifically because the agents control their units, the market gives you volume. Okay, let's look at this in agent and innovation. $22 million producer. They invested their time, energy, and resource for April the 220. You know I'm a data decision maker. Let's look at business. Business is up 56%. In October of 2022, been there, done that. Made that investment, don't too much time. I'd rather spend that time elsewhere. Goose egg showed up in the first quarter. What did they do? You're right. Okay. That's my touch. Okay. Let's look at this person. All right. This is a Lake Country agent, $17.8 million producer. Okay. They invested their time, energy, and resources. Their units January through April of this year were up 166% versus the prior year. Let's see. Another Lake Country agent, $9.4 million. They had a goose egg in the first quarter of 23. They invested their time, energy, and resources. Their closed units were up 166%. Let's go further. North Shore agent, $8.5 million. January through April, their units were up 50% because they made a choice. Southwest agent, that's a long goose egg. Okay, they invested their time, energy, and resources. Their closed units were up 800% January through April. And again, I'm giving you the exact same time frame, every single person with the exact same metrics. So you know I'm not bullshitting you in terms of the results that are being had and telling you numbers this, that, and the other way. This person, North Shore agent, 5.6 million, closed units were up 600%. Southwest agent, they had a goose egg in the first quarter of 23. October of 23, they made the investment. Their closed units were up 66%. Okay. Southwest, they were distracted in the fall of 2022. I'm not sure what they were distracted by because they didn't do jack shit. They invested their time, energy, and resources, and they were up 200%. Don't worry, Stillman, you're in here. $29.6 million team. Last year as a team, they made the investment of their time as a team. Their closed units were up 33%. This is a Lake Country team. Southwest, $31.3 million team. Closed units were up 18%. The stories go on and on and on, and I only gave you about 15. Last year, there was about 100 people in the room who decided to make the choice. And if you think I'm bullshitting you, let's just take history has a tendency to repeat itself. Fall of 22, you get the same story. This person was too busy. They weren't interested. In the first quarter of 2023, their units were down 71%. Their volume was down 83 versus the prior year. This person made it. 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 Let's go back even further. Fall of 21. This person made it. This person was too busy in the October of 2020. They had a goose egg. This person made the decision. You can see the results. This person made it. This person was too busy. They had to live with their units being down 50% and their volume being down 38. This person made it. This person made it. This person made it. Now you think, okay, that's fine. Let's go even further. Fall of 2017. This person decided to make an investment of their time, energy, and resources, you can see the ROI and the amount of business they did afterwards. This person made an investment. In the next 5 months, they did 11 deals. Their GCI was up. The following year, they were too busy, been there, done that. Their business was down 82%. Okay, so on and so forth. And that's from 2017. And it's not so much as it is about the results as it is about the culture and community that you become a part of. Because here's what I know. The group needs connectivity, and the group needs accountability, and the group needs leadership in order to navigate in an industry where average closed units per agent are down 50%. This was the group last year that decided to make a choice, 100 plus people in that room. Okay. And I talk about, and I use this as an example, is it's not as much around the results that you receive, because the results, like, you'll see the memes that'll come out of me saying, challenge me, that bold doesn't work. But it's also about the community that you build, because in an environment where it's a dog eat dog world and many of you are sitting on an island, there is an aspect of building a sense of community and going through the challenge, the struggle, and embracing the suck together. Okay. And so with that, Bold is back. And with that, I would like to introduce you to the very first female coach we've had in Milwaukee of the last 10 years we've been doing this, Amber Rutherford. Amber, we appreciate your time and thanks for coming to Milwaukee. Tell us a little about yourself.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I feel like you don't even need to hear from me at this point. What is the choice, Charlie?
You know what? It's their choice.
That is true. And Diana said many times to me, you make the choice and the choice makes you. So I love it. First of all, I'm so grateful. Your leadership team, I think for 3 years, we've been talking about making this happen, and it's finally happening. So I am so excited to come up north, because I'm from Florida. The whole seasons, analogy, it goes over my head. We just have one season. It's really, really hot here all the time. Anyway, so my goal today is I'd love to share some value with you. I would love to share with you a little bit about Bold, some changes that have happened with Bold. And I'd also like to just talk a little bit about who am I that's coming to visit you, because I think Charlie showed the numbers. The proof is there. Okay. So we'll talk about some changes with Bold. Yet the reality is you have to decide, hey, can this person even help me? Okay. Can she connect with me? Can she move my business forward? Okay. So let's get like the meat, out of the way. Let's talk about it. Gary Keller took Bold for this October, and he was going to do some rewriting, some changes. And then he said, you know what? I can't do this. I am going to put them all aside, and I'm going to rewrite all 7 steps. Then I'm going to go back and pull forward some classic pieces that I think, should remain in Bold. So be ready, okay? As a coach, I haven't seen the new manual yet. Gary is in the writing room every single day creating it's a whole new Bold experience. It is not the Bold you've ever taken before. I've taken it, 50 times, and it is going to be completely different. There are multiple lead generation sessions. There's social media every single step. They have rewritten the Bold laws. I pray you don't have a tattoo, maybe, of something. Anyway, they've kept some of them. Yet what we're excited about is Gary has applied 10 Bold truths. I'll give you 2 of them. Would you like a sneak peek?
Of course.
Oh, I love the balloons. They go off just randomly. Yeah, that was good timing. The first one is happiness is a choice. How many of you would agree with that statement?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've seen people in tragic situations and they handle it so differently. Number 1 is happiness is a choice. And number 2, Charlie has already set this stage for us. The path is in the math. Do you run your business like a business? Do you know how many contacts it takes to get that appointment? When Charlie says we're down by 50%, you guys, the math is simple. Double down just to keep what we have. Okay. Yet if we're not looking at the math, it's like driving somewhere and you're not on the GPS. Do you get off on a detour? Yeah, absolutely. So we've got to constantly be looking at the math. Okay. So bold is going to be all new. I am so excited. It's like Christmas morning as a coach for 7 years to see something brand new. Okay. So that's the updates on bold. We'll have some time hopefully for Q&A. You can ask me some more questions. Yet that's kind of the gist of it. It is all new and there's not a lot to share because we haven't gotten our hands on it yet. Gary is hard at work. So a little bit about me. I see it's already on the screen, so I'll talk briefly. Most importantly, is the one up from the bottom. I have 4 kiddos, 15 and under. James Shaw talks about me all the time on his call. He's like the lady that lives in the shoe with her 18 kids. It's really only 4. Yet I also get to serve our company as a operating principal of 2 offices, bold coach, a KWU instructor. My husband and I still run a team that's in Gary's top 100, still coach that team. And I'm right in the trenches with you. Okay. With all the updates and changes you're doing, I'm living them right now. The same thing. Okay. Sellers are asking questions. I'm texting other top agents. How are you handling this? Constant and never ending improvement. I'm living it right there with you. Okay. Yet that's who I am now. Who was I? 11 years ago, I got into real estate because my husband said, let's start a business. And he came to me with a bounce house business. He came to me with a Greek restaurant. And all I could think is, I'm going to be peeling potatoes at 4 in the morning. I wasn't built for that. And so he kept throwing out ideas. And meanwhile, I'm a teacher at this point in time, and he's a firefighter. We already have 3 little kids, I think. So they would have been 5 and under, 3, 5 and under. Charlie, you can connect with that.
Totally.
It's a wild season. And then he wants to add a business on top of it. So he says, what about real estate? He had already has real estate license. He helped some firefighters. And I said, ooh, that's a good one. Low risk, low overhead, low threshold for entry. Like, we can do this. And he said, I'll only do it if you join me. And I thought, I'm a teacher. I don't know about this. So anyway, our first 4 months, guess how many deals we did?
0. You had a goose egg.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Charlie. Great guess. You are. We did 0, and a team leader that really cared about me had a very similar conversation that Charlie is having with you. We got in bold, and you guys, I'm going to share something with you in a minute. It's called your blueprint for success. I got in that room and it was like everything inside of me that knew there was more potential was unlocked. And I mean, I lived in a box. I was a W-2 employee. I got a paycheck every 2 weeks. And I thought the most I'm ever going to make as an educator is maybe $50, $60, $70,000. And that's it for me. And when I got in a room that said, you get what you deserve in your imagination, like everything is limitless, there is no stopping you. We did 25 deals the rest of that year. We did 54 our second year. We still had full-time jobs, teacher, firefighter. So dual career people, I'm with you, okay? We popped out another kid. And meanwhile, I want to talk about this. Charlie said earlier, timing your calendar, managing your calendar. That is something that we work on because as I built this empire over these years, I picked up my kids 4 out of 5 days from school every single week. I still do. I have one homeschooling on the other side of the wall, and I'm running many different companies as we speak. You can have it all. Your family can be a massive priority and you can grow a business because there's a bold law that says you teach people how to treat you. Okay. So we built the business. By our 4th year. I got the opportunity to be a bold coach. And what ended up happening, I want you to write this down. My blueprint for success. Jot it down. 11 years ago, my blueprint for success was, ooh, what is an awesome lesson plan? Let me explode the volcano in the classroom and talk about chemical changes. That was my blueprint for success. Now my blueprint for success is how can I create wealth for my top agents? How can I create the biggest bold experience in partnering with your market centers? What passive income streams am I bringing on this year? So my question is this, like, am I a different human being genetically than I was 11 years ago? Not a trick question.
Mm-mm.
No, I'm not a cat or a rabbit or bunny or anything like that. I'm still the same person, yet I'm operating on a different blueprint for success. Okay. So I'd like to connect this back to you. With your pen, write down for me 2024. You were toasting your business partner, your spouse, whoever it was, and you said, this year, 2024, I'm selling X number of homes. Write that number down for me. Who can shout it out or drop it in the chat box?
What do you got?
Not all of you at once. I get overwhelmed easily. Love it. 30, 33. What are you hearing in the room, Charlie?
I think they're nervous.
Oh, what are they nervous about? We could flip the camera around. This will be even more fun.
They know the accountability that comes with being in the room.
Yep. Well, let's start that right now. Okay. So you wrote down your goal. I'm not going to have you call it out just yet. However, tell me the reality check. Where are you at closed and pending units? Reality check. Write it down. Closed and pending units. Where are you year to date? Okay. So how many of you wrote down your annual goal? Give me a whoop whoop. Like you did it. You've already hit the goal.
Sorry.
Hey, this is not stand-up comedy hour. Who thought I was joking? So here's my question. Write down for me now the gap. If the goal was 30, you're at 10, you have a gap of 20. So write down for me, what is your gap? I want you to look at that gap and tell me, is that important to you? Selling that number of homes, is it important? Yes or no? That should be a pretty easy question.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. So here is the reality. The only difference, okay, and let me give you an example. That gap you wrote down, is there someone in Keller Williams closing that many houses this year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is there someone closing that many this month?
Yes.
This week? Likely, okay? Here is the only difference. You guys, and Charlie, don't be mad at me. There is nothing special about me, about Charlie, about that agent. There is nothing more important about them. They are just operating from a different blueprint for success. They organize their life differently. They look at time differently. They look at their skills. They look at their conversion very differently. They are operating from a different blueprint for success that gives them what they have on that blueprint. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So some of you are like, well, great. Can you just email me the map? I would really like that. How do I get this blueprint? Well, here's how you get it. Okay. And Charlie's already shown you the numbers that show the proof. Is you partner with a coach that is going to ask you questions that unlock the answers. Get this, this is my belief to the tips of my toes. You partner with a coach that unlocks the answers you already have inside of you. You already know how to accomplish that blueprint of success that you're not implementing right now. Do you want the proof? How many of you lead generated? Well, let's say we'll use yesterday as an example. How many of you lead generated yesterday? Wave your hands, give me a thumbs up, a heart, something in the chat box.
I'll say 25% of the room.
Okay, well, I don't think we need to talk anymore. Everybody just signs up for bold if it's only 25% of the room. All right, so here's my question. That was yesterday. Okay, analyze it. How do you think it went on a scale of 1 to 10?
6.
Okay, we're right. We'll just split right it down the middle. It was an average lead gen session. So you guys, I'm going to ask you a question. What would you do if I told you today that tomorrow during your lead gen session, there's going to be a guy with a mustache. He looks very familiar. His name is Gary Keller, and he is going to be sitting next to you during lead generation. He is going to give you feedback and coaching. What would you do differently tomorrow with Gary than you did yesterday? Shout out the answers. Give me anything. Drop it in the chat box.
More calls, different level of engagement.
Make more calls, different level of engagement, way shorter coffee break. What else?
I'll tell you the truth. I've been in a room with him. You know what he doesn't let you do? Bullshit. Straight up. Like, it's the whole concept of there are reasons or there are results. He's a very results oriented person, and it's very uncomfortable. When I've been in rooms with him, I'm feeling pretty good and I think we're doing all right. And then all of a sudden he's like, rips me into it. And I'm like, all right, I guess we could be doing better.
Yeah, it's called being intentional. Would you have had a call list prepared? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Would you have stayed on the phone until you set the number of appointments that you had set as your goal?
Yes.
Yeah, you would have created the results. So did you guys already have the answers of how to improve lead gen?
Yes.
Absolutely. It's just partnering with a coach that's going to ask you the question to bring what you already know top of mind. And great coaches ask great questions. Okay. You guys, I have a question for you with all of the changes. How confident are you in talking about your menu of services? At X%, at this percent and that percent, here's our menu of services. Gary Keller's Top 100, we talk about this often. Are you comfortable? Do you know at 2%, 3%, and 4%, I do this? Not that I'm naming a percentile, yet do you have a menu of services, yes or no? That's where we're heading. I don't know if we realize this. Commission is a top conversation, and buyers desire and sellers desire value for what they're paying for. You guys want proof that a menu of services actually works? Research study again and again have said when people have options, do you think they spend more or less?
More.
Yeah, they spend more. Ladies or gentlemen, no judgment. How many of you ever gotten a pedicure? And then they pull out the little menu. Do you want the basic package? Do you want the loofah one or this one? Do you ever go with the most basic package? No, because you kind of feel guilty. Like, oh, I don't want to be the cheapest. And you guys, the pedicure industry has figured this out and it's worth $10 to them. What's it worth to us? It could be $10,000. Are you ready for this? Are you comfortable in discussing that? Okay. I had a coach ask me a question, and I'm going to share it with you now that changed my entire family's trajectory. I got hired as a bold coach. Scott Toombs was my head coach, and my first time coaching with him, he said, all right, Amber, what are your buckets of income? And I said, well, I've got my real estate team, and I'm really thinking this bold thing maybe is going to be another bucket. And he said, it will be. Yet, what else do you have? I said, that's it. He said, all right, friend, by the end of this year, you are going to have 5 streams of income, each of which is churning out $200,000. What do you think my first thought was?
He's crazy.
You're crazy. I now have 4 kids, 7 and under. I'm signing 10 to 15 listings a month. Now I'm going to be on an airplane for Bold, and you'd like me to find 3 other jobs this year. I love the Bold law, no pressure, no diamonds, which by the way, that one is staying. And he says to me, no, we've got this. Well, fast forward the end of that year, that question every single week, we launched a title company. We bought our first 3 investment properties, and we got serious about profit share. Here's what I know. I knew how to do all of that already. He didn't give me the cheat code to launch a title company. Yet if I didn't have a coach applying pressure, I would have never done that. Here's another one. If your child had a horrible illness and you could only pay for it and sign listings, how many listings would you take? Are we okay to get real a little bit? My daughter has a genetic disorder. About 3 years ago, we met with a doctor and he said she's going to be a little person. She's going to be about 4 feet 6 inches tall. And he said, unfortunately, her growth trajectory right now is on par. However, her bones are fusing together. So I don't know if the insurance is going to cover this. And I said, well, how much is the treatment? And he said, it's $60,000 a quarter. And I said, I don't care. Order the medicine. Because when the why is big enough, the how will show up. And I pray that you don't ever have to have a why that's that big. However, what Charlie showed stats and graphs and all of that, you guys, I think we are capable of more than our wildest imagination can even think of right now. $60,000 for medication a quarter wasn't in my realm of possibility, and now it's a no-brainer. And how? Because I've taken courses like Bold and partnered with great coaches and said, I'm coachable. Push me forward, make me uncomfortable. Because when we're comfortable, guess what we're not doing?
Growing.
We're growing. We are either green and growing, or we are ripe and rotten. Are you guys okay? Am I a little bit passionate about this stuff? You guys, 11 years ago, I declared a personal bankruptcy. A teacher and a firefighter, we had bought a house in the boom of the market. Our rate, blew up way more than we could ever afford. And now, 11 years later, everything has been unlocked for my family. And so I get to serve by coaching Bold and partner with agents that say, hey, this is my wildest dreams. Let's make it happen. So Charlie, I'd love to know who's joining us, who's in with us on Bold.
Amber, all right, I'm going to surprise you real quick and surprise the room.
Okay.
We have someone in our community that has taken Bold with Amber before. Okay. And
You took my first Bold ever.
you're going to get a real perspective. Fair, jump on quick. You took Bold with Amber in Chicago.
Hi, Amber.
Tell us about your experience.
Hi. Well, Charlie, you don't know this, but Amber and I have been like side messaging. Yeah, I took Amber's very first Bold back in what, 2017, 16, 17?
2017.
Yeah, it was so great in a dark, dingy basement in Chicago. And I didn't know it at the time that it was her first Bold. She did not unveil that information until the very, very last, at the end of the very last day of Bold. And after I took Bold, I swore I would never do it again. I loved Amber's Bold, but every coach after that, no, it was a no for me. I did take it a few more times, every time saying, ugh, I'll never do it again. Honestly, I don't love Bold. I'm not just like a Kool-Aid Bold drinker. That's not who I am. That's not what I'm about. And I even pulled Mandy aside like a year ago and I said, Mandy, don't make me do it. Like, please don't make me do it. And she said, I'm not going to make you do it. And here we are. I am registered. I'm ready to go because I saw Amber's name come across my inbox. So I'm taking Bold for you, Amber, because I know the power that you have and I know what you can extract from a room. And my memory of our experience together was just so wonderful. And the energy was incredible.
It was electric.
Yeah, yes, it was.
Launched Lincoln Park, just to kind of show what can happen in a room.
Yeah.
Lincoln Park was launching. When I took the Bold, there was only 50 agents. We had 100 people in the room, almost 100 people in the room, over half of which were guests of Keller Williams.
That's right.
By the end of it, 90% of them were Keller Williams agents. Chicago was on fire. It was a wild time and so many relationships. I think that's another thing. I am a relational coach. The agents that I've coached, I can only go out once a year because of all of my other responsibilities. So I save up all this energy for October because my agents get 150% of me. I'm doing a call in 12 minutes for everyone who's already signed up because the accountability starts the second you sign up. Okay, we'll do another call in 2 weeks so that you get the most out of this. I stay in touch with agents over the years. They still call me. I'm closing a deal for Tommy Choi right now, a referral he just sent me from Chicago. Like these, I only go out once a year so that I can keep this group very close to my heart and keep an accountable relationship over the years. It's an honor.
Here's the deal.
Love it.
I've always said this, and I've been doing this now for 7-ish Bolds. Life's about choices. You're not going to hear us beg you to do it. I always say the proof is in the pudding. I make data-driven decisions. And as Fair said, like, I'll be the first to admit, first time I went to Bold, I called my mom. I said, what is this bullshit? And yet elements of Bold continued to show up for the last 10 years of my life, and how my life has been transformed because of the coaching, the accountability, the community, and the culture that comes from it. Right. And I will tell you, and Amber said this earlier. I've been chasing Amber to come to Milwaukee for 3 years. She finally said yes. And the reason why I chased her for 3 years is I wanted to put someone in front of you that you guys could relate to, not only in terms of her level of productivity, right? Sometimes people get stages that don't have the stats to back it up. I wanted to put someone in front of you that had the stats to back it up, that lived and walked the walk and talked the talk, and is someone who also has 4 kids under 7. Like,
No,
I
under
understand.
15 right now. Like,
Yeah,
ooh,
but I got them
I'm
under
out of the
7.
diaper phase. Yes.
But my point is like, she's been through it. She talks about being a balanced life. And the reason why she only coaches 1 time a year, and it's the only bold she's coaching outside of Florida, is to do it as a favor for us. And so I leave it with you that life's about choices. A few other details for you as it relates to logistics. We heard you. The dark, dingy zoo room is no longer. We're going into the beautiful downtown space of the War Memorial, which is where Bold will be held all of the sessions downtown. And the reason I put this picture up there is because the number one feedback we get is we need natural light. We need natural light. So we're going to the War Memorial this fall. Also, if you're interested in a payment plan, we will break the payments up into 3 payments for you over the next 3 months. And because we haven't, because people haven't asked, or we haven't shared it yet, the cost of Bold, for those that don't know, is $799. Okay, I'm going to give you something of perspective. I just looked at it because we closed August's numbers. So far, year to date, anybody know what the average gross commission is per unit closed across all of our locations? No, $11,000. Okay, if you do one incremental deal because of the time you invested in this space, it's a 13x return. The average person does 7 deals while in the Bold room. 7 incremental deals. 7 times 11,000 is $77,000. You're going to spend $790. You're going to argue with me over spending $799 to get $77,000 in return. That's a 100x return on your investment. Like, straight up. $799 to get 7 incremental pieces of business. 7 incremental pieces of business in our market centers is $11,000 per deal. That's $77,000. Lastly, here's what I'll leave you with. 2 things that's really important to our community. Last year, we as a community, because it's a we thing, we dropped $16,000 on scholarships to our KW community in Milwaukee. Okay. Because I so firmly believe in the results that it delivers and the coaches that we've brought forth. Last year, I thought Bo was phenomenal. Okay. So there's 2 things. One, there's a scholarship application, which is what you see on the left. We fund 100% of all applications. It doesn't mean that we fund 100% of your cost, but those that are willing to take the time, energy, and resources to tell us why they deserve a scholarship will always get something. And the nominal value of that scholarship is based on need. Okay. The second piece of it is, whether you know this or not, the $16,000 comes from someone sitting on the left of you and someone sitting on the right of you, because somebody had an impact that the Bold Room had, and they make donations in anonymously to support their fellow peers because someone did it for them. And if you're so moved to make a donation to local education, that is there on the right. So with that, Amber, I thank you for making the effort to come to Milwaukee. We look forward to hosting you. And if you're so moved, the path is in the math. Life's about choices. We hope to see you in the Bold Room this fall. Amber, thanks for joining us this
I
morning.
love it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. See you soon.
Awesome. With that, guys, it's a beautiful day in Milwaukee. We're here to serve you. Just remember, you're about to go into separation is in the preparation. That's what we plan to do this fall. Hope to see you there. Thanks, guys.